Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Prime Minister, Honourable Deputy Prime Minister, Honourable Ministers and Assistant Ministers, and Members of Parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow Fijians. A very good morning to you all. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to commend the Honourable Minister for Finance and his dedicated team led by Permanent Secretary Mr. Hon.Sachida Nand for preparing and presenting a comprehensive, well-considered and forward-looking 2026-27 national budget. The budget reflects a clear understanding of Fiji's current economic realities while responding to the aspirations and the needs of our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, sound economic principles recognizes that during periods of economic uncertainty and slower growth, government have an important role in playing stimulating economic activity through strategic public investment and expenditure. Such investment supports demand, creates employment opportunities, strengthens business confidence, and lays the foundation for sustainable economic development. This government has adopted exactly that approach. It has chosen to invest in our people, strengthen essential public service, and support key sectors of the economy rather than retreat from its responsibilities. We cannot compromise on service delivery to our people. Access to healthcare, education, infrastructure, social protection, economic opportunities must remain at the center of our national priorities. This budget demonstrates the government's commitment to ensuring that every Fijian continues to benefit from effective and reliable public services while we build a stronger, more resilient, and more inclusive economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, Ministry of Commerce and Business Development sits at the very heart of our national economic life. Our mandate is broad, and it touches on the daily lives of every citizen, every business in this country. Through our Economic Business Reform and Investment Unit, we lead strategic reform initiatives. Our Department for National Trade Measurements and Standards protects every consumer in this country from unsafe and poor quality products, while maintaining the national system of weights and measures that underpins fair trade. Our Department of Cooperative Business nurtures the cooperative movements that has for generations given the people a pathway for collective enterprise and shared prosperity. And our MSME Fiji unit works alongside our small businesses, the entrepreneurs, the market vendors, who are true engine of grassroots economic growth, provide them with training, advisory support, and for the first time, access to peer-to-peer lending platform to unlock new funding opportunities. Mr. Speaker, sir, in short, the ministry is where policy meets enterprise. We are the bridge between the government's ambition and the lived economic realities of our traders, our cooperators, our investors, and our consumers. Mr. Speaker, sir, since 2022, MSME Fiji has continued to deliver our core programs. Over the three-year period from 2020 to 2022 to 2025, MSME unit was allocated 7.6 million, and through this allocation has assisted over 2,100 recipients. During the same period, the team conducted 111 training sessions, reaching more than 2,500 participants, of whom 1,937 were women. This is a clear demonstration, Mr. Speaker, sir, of this government's commitment to exclusive women-driven economic growth at grassroots level. Mr. Speaker, sir, in December 2025, the ministry launched the 2025 to 2030 MSME strategic plan, which will guide the next phase of development in Fiji's MSME ecosystem. In the same month, we launched the MSME portal, giving our micro, small, and medium enterprise online access to MSME Fiji grants program. This portal marks the first phase in the development of Fiji's national MSME database, a central repository of MSME information that will sharpen how government changes, designs, and targets its support to. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Department of Cooperative has likewise seen steady growth. The Cooperative Development Fund commenced in 2024 financial year with a budget of $400,000. In its second year, the government increased the budget to $600,000, reflecting growing demand and the confidence in the sector, or the confidence this sector has earned. Registration of new cooperatives continue on an upward trend, a sign that more of our people are choosing cooperative model as a pathway into business. Government has also invested in the renovation of the cooperative college, ensuring our cooperators have a fit-for-purpose institution to build the skills the growing sector demands. While this government has come into power, when this government had come into power, we had fewer than 300 active cooperatives in Fiji. And now we can proudly say we have over 800 active cooperatives. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are not simply figures. They represent thousands of Fijians who have received training, funding, mentorship to start, grow a business, and now stand as a testimonial to a difference targeted, well-monitored government support can make. As we move into 2026-27 financial year, the Ministry remains committed to building on this foundation, deepening the reach of our grant program, strengthening our cooperative sector, and ensuring every dollar allocated continues to deliver reasonable impact for our people. Mr. Speaker, sir, these are what this government has achieved. Despite constraints, the Ministry has pressed ahead with the reform, recognizing that the cost of inaction is always higher than the cost of change. Mr. Speaker, sir, one of the key objectives of the Ministry of Commerce and Business Development is to build a vibrant, resilient, and sustainable cooperative movement in Fiji. Cooperatives have long played an important role in empowering ordinary Fijians by allowing communities and producers to pool resources, improve bargaining power, create employment, and retain wealth within the local communities. For Fiji, cooperatives are not merely another business model. They are part of our economic history. They represent the value of collective ownership, shared prosperity, and community development. This budget continues our commitment to strengthening this important sector through legislative reforms, improved governance, capacity building, and greater access to finance. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, if we are serious about rebuilding confidence in the cooperative movement, we must also be prepared to acknowledge and address the injustices that were committed against cooperatives in the past. One of the most significant examples is the restructure of the Rewa Cooperative Dairy Company Limited in 2010. The Rewa Cooperative Dairy Company Limited was not simply another government-owned enterprise. It was not. It was a cooperative owned by the dairy farmers from Tailevu, Rewa, and Netasiri. These farmers had collectively built one of the most successful agricultural cooperatives in Fiji. The cooperative owned and operated a fully functional dairy processing plant in Nambua, maintained an extensive milk collection network, provided logistic support, and served as the backbone of Fiji's dairy industry for many years. As the legal owners of the cooperative, farmers had every right to determine the future direction of the organization. Any major restructuring of the cooperative should have been undertaken only with the proper authority of its shareholders and in accordance with sound cooperative governance principles. Instead, in 2010, Mr. Speaker, sir, the cooperative was restructured into two separate entities by the then government. The first entity was Fiji Dairy Limited, which took ownership of the processing factory. The government subsequently sold this company to Southern Cross Foods, a subsidiary of Sija Patel Group. While the sale itself forms part of Fiji's corporate history, there remains legitimate questions about how the restructuring occurred and whether the interests of the cooperative shareholders were adequately protected through that process. The second entity created was Fiji Cooperative Dairy Company Limited. Its primary role became representing dairy farmers in upstream production and acting as the intermediary between the farmers and Fiji Dairy Limited. The farmers were assured that they would continue to participate in the ownership of the processing company. However, what they ultimately received was 20% holding of Class B shares. These shares did not provide them with level of ownership, voting rights, or influence that would ordinarily be expected from those whose cooperative have originally owned the processing asset. Many dairy farmers continue to believe that they were unfairly disadvantaged during the restructure process. Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that this concern deserves careful and objective consideration. This is not about revisiting history for political purpose. This is about ensuring justice, transparency, and accountability remain central to the principle of good governance. As a government that is committed itself to openness and accountability, we have the responsibility to fully understand how the restructuring occurred and whether the interests of the cooperative members were properly protected. Among the important questions that deserve to be examined are: under what legal authority was the restructuring of the cooperative undertaken? Were the shareholders properly consulted, and did they provide informed consent? What governance process was followed during the restructure? How was the consultant responsible for restructuring appointed, particularly if there was any conflict of interest that existed? Why was the ownership of the processing factory transferred away from the cooperative members? Why were family farmers ultimately issued Class B shares with limited influence? What became of the proceeds of the sale of Fiji Dairy Limited, and why these proceeds were not returned to the cooperative that rightfully owned the processing asset? These are legitimate questions that deserve factual answers based on evidence and proper review. More importantly, Mr. Speaker, sir, our responsibility cannot stop with examining the past. Our focus must be on rebuilding the future of Fiji's dairy industry. For many years, Fiji has sought to increase domestic milk production and reduce dependence on imported dairy products. Strengthening our dairy farmers remains essential if we are to improve food security, trade employment, and reduce our import bill. Accordingly, this government should work closely with dairy farmers, the Fiji Cooperative Dairy Company Limited, and all relevant stakeholders to explore practical options for rebuilding the industry's long-term capacity. These options could include undertaking an independent assessment of whether there is any realistic pathway for increasing farmer participation in the ownership of the dairy processing facility. Government may also evaluate the possibility of establishing modern processing infrastructure that provides dairy farmers with greater commercial participation in value addition. In addition, consideration should be given at targeted fiscal measures that strengthen farmer-owned cooperative enterprise. One proposal that deserves careful economic assessment is whether appropriate duty concessions should be extended to Fiji Cooperative Dairy Company Limited to facilitate the importation and distribution of processed dairy products, with profits reinvested directly into expanding milk production, improving farm productivity, strengthening collaboration and collection system, and supporting farmer development. Mr. Speaker, sir, this government has contributed the highest development fund towards the dairy industry, reaching as far as $5 million. And no government has ever done that before. Such proposals would naturally require detailed financial, commercial, and legal evaluation to ensure they're economically sustainable, consistent with government's policy. And this will take time, Mr. Speaker, sir. As a way forward, the government could consider referring the determination of fair and sustainable raw milk pricing to Fiji Competition and Consumer Commission. An independent assessment by the FCCC would help ensure that pricing is transparent, evidence-based, and equitable to all stakeholders in the dairy industry. This avenue could be pursued should the dairy farmers choose to support such an option. Mr. Speaker, sir, our objective should not simply to preserve the past. Our objective should be to restore confidence, to ensure fairness, to restore opportunity, and above all, restore the original spirit of cooperation that enables Fiji's dairy farmers to build one of the country's most successful agricultural enterprise. If we are genuinely believing in empowering ordinary Fijians, then empowering our cooperative must form part of the national vision. This budget gives us an opportunity not only to invest in business, industries, and infrastructure, but to also invest in fairness, accountability, and rebuilding of the institution that place ownership back into the hands of our people. I commend the Ministry's ongoing commitment to strengthening Fiji's cooperative sector and encourage government to continue exploring practical avenues that ensure that our dairy farmers receive the recognition and support and opportunities they deserve. Looking ahead, Mr. Speaker, sir, our Ministry's plan for 2026-27 are ambitious but achievable. We will continue to implement the Fiji National E-commerce strategy, helping our MSMEs participate confidently in online markets while strengthening digital governance and cybersecurity. We will advance work on National Single Window, a transformative trade facilitation reform that will allow traders to submit all trade-related information through a single electronic platform, reducing duplication, lowering compliance costs, and accelerating border clearance. Closer to home, Mr. Speaker, sir, we will continue to roll the Fijian Made and Buy Fijian campaign to champion local enterprise, undertake a review of the Cooperative Act and the National Trade Measurements Act to modernize our regulatory frameworks and continue doing business platforms to make Fiji a more attractive and easier place in which to start and grow our business. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry of Commerce and Business Development remains firmly committed in building an economy that works for every Fijian, from the smallest market vendor to the largest investor. The 27.3 million allocated to this ministry in 2026-27 budget is not merely a sum on a piece of paper. It is an investment in resilience, the competitiveness, the future prosperity of business community. This allocation confirmed in the national budget reflects the government's broader strategy of growing revenues through economic expansion, not through high-value taxes, and recognize the thriving private sector as the foundation of a sustainable financial future for Fiji. Mr. Speaker, sir, some have called this a joke, our national budget a joke. It is not a joke. A lot of people have put their time, money, and effort into consolidating this, including the Ministry of Finance staff, led by the Permanent Secretary, the Honourable Minister for Finance, and other stakeholders. The people of Fiji have contributed towards building this budget. It should not be called a joke. It's an insult to the hard work of our people. Due recognition, they can say the budget does not provide a holistic coverage, but it should never be called a joke. We are insulting our civil servants. And I think all the honourable members who have said that should recall their statement. Mr. Speaker, sir, with those, I commend this budget to the House, and I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and the honourable members for their attention and support. Thank you very much, Vinaka Vaglevu, and God bless Fiji.